for all and talk about it for a minute. And feel free, my style of presentation, I'm going to run very quickly because we don't have a lot of time and I want to leave as much time as possible for Bruce. But feel free to ask questions and I'll try to take them as I move along with the presentation. So this is about myself, just quickly. My company is SimplyDoIt. I work with investors, some of you in the room, actually quite a few number of people in the room, working with you on investing out of state in two types of programs. The residential rentals, the buy and hold concept, and also the residential fix and flip, meaning short-term concept. You buy, you fix it up, and you sell it. Those are the two main programs I'm doing with my teams, my network of agents, property managers, and rehabbers in Dallas, Atlanta, Orlando, and Oklahoma City. I'm based here. All my flips are done without me even nailing one nail, even a single nail. I'm just not that type of a person. I'm too lazy for that. So that's how I'm able to flip, or I'm able to do rental properties, and so are my investors, all being done from Silicon Valley or other parts of the country. Now, let me just say one word about how I got started investing out of state, and maybe I should actually refine that. When I got started, my first property I bought out of the country. I used to live in a huge, one of the biggest real estate markets in the world, Tel Aviv, Israel. And I bought in a tiny, small real estate market called Phoenix, Arizona in 2002. Now in 2002, when I got started, first of all, when I learned about Phoenix, Arizona, I knew the name. The first thing I had to do was go to the map and see where Phoenix is, right? And by the way, for those of you who do not know, the tiny town of, the tiny metro of Phoenix is about 6 million people large. So 6 million people, for some odd reason, call Phoenix home. I don't know why, but that's just a fact. And I'm in Tel Aviv, in the huge metro of about 1 million people, looking to invest in Phoenix. I had to go to the map. Remember, 2002, Google was a young company at the time, right? Zillow is maybe not even on paper, and not even truly on all of that. So I had to go and decide if I want to invest in a different country, in a different culture, in a different terminology, in a different language. And the alternative for me didn't make as much sense as going to and investing in that little metro called Phoenix. And actually, when I got started, we didn't call it out of state, we call it completely out of the country. You can actually say another sphere, for that matter. Now, for me, it was always logic. Common logic. I'm a numbers guy. I'm an engineer with my education and background. I was always about what would make more sense, and I could see that investing locally versus out of state, by far, in my opinion, exceeds numbers-wise the returns. So let's just say locally, when we buy a house, I don't know what you can get for $500,000 here today, but let's just say you can. So you buy a $500,000 house, you need about 20%, which is $100,000 plus some cost, maybe to fix it up, etc. $110,000. The rent, maybe $1,600. It's a big maybe, but I'm just being generous for the local investment. The ratio would be 1.3%. Rent purchase price ratio 1.3%. Annual cash flow negative $13,000 about. Okay, I'm just talking, simple math here. It's probably a B, what I call a B area. And actually, I looked on Realtor.com last night to prepare for this, and I could see most of the houses for this number in this area were at 2.2, and not even 1,100 square foot. Okay, but let's say some of them were 3.2, and maybe around that number. That's fine. What can you get out of state? For $130,000. You will need 20% down plus cost, $33,000. So right there you can see it's already 3 times less than the buying over here. The rent will be $1,350. The ratio is about 1%, so it's a little bit less than 1%, which is 3 times better. The cash flow for this house, not amazing, only $3,000. But $3,000, I would say, is $16,000 more than investing here. That's a lot of money, in my mind, and for me, that number represents all real expenses. So it's not just rent or something like this. It's after vacancies and repairs and management and all of that, you come up with about $3,000, a year. It's a B+ area easily, maybe even an A- area, good areas, 324 to 43, maybe 1850. What I did put here, over here you get what? 1950, 60, 70, maybe 80, you know, built house. Over here, 2010, 2000, maybe you know, like 1980s, where it's such a one old house. So just to show you logically, you know, the differences between the two. If I run those numbers again, what I want to show you, if we really put it, you know, here's a house in Sunnyvale in Oklahoma City, similar numbers, just as, you know, real examples. You know, everything is very similar to what I just showed, but I wanted to do what I call an apples to apples. So for this amount, for the one house in Sunnyvale, for that example, I could buy 3 houses. I would use a little bit less money than the one in Sunnyvale, and my total rent, right, apples to apples, the same amount of money, would be a little bit over $4,000. Just to show you what you can get for buying one here with a big chunk of money, and the same amount of money, how much it can buy you over there. Not to mention putting all your eggs in one basket, etc. There are more concepts to it, or such as liquidity. Real estate is not a very liquid asset to begin with. When you put a lot of money in one property, you cannot sell fractions of it unless you're going to take it public, which is impossible unless the Job Act will change that. I don't know. When you have 3 houses and you need to liquidate one of them because you need some cash, you liquidate one of them. You didn't lose the 2 other assets, which you must lose when you liquidate the one in Sunnyvale. So far, any questions? Perfect. I guess excellent speaker, no questions. That's fine. I do know, after doing this for so many years, there are some, let's say it's not all about logic, and there are some psychological limitations or fear altogether about investing. So it's definitely something, there is a personal level of comfort of pulling the trigger, you know, and investing altogether, not to mention out of state. So yes, it has to do with your own comfort zone. Some people, the option of investing locally is within reach because they have the funds. For many other people, even if they understand, you know, even if they want to invest locally, they may have only $50,000, and buying something locally it's not within reach. So going out of state makes more sense. I think you also have to balance the cash flow versus appreciation. I do think there is a better chance of appreciation here than many other markets around the country, but it's not always true. So if we take one example, a market that I used to invest in 2000, you know, for many years, we came back in 2009, 10, 11, and then we stopped at the end of the 11, is Phoenix, Arizona. The reason I stopped sending my investors to Phoenix is because it went up so much. By the time I stopped, it already went up 15% or so. Now it's 20 plus. For me, going to Phoenix, where I still hear investors going there, I think they're buying around the peak of the market. You know, maybe it has still room to grow, but the numbers are not as friendly as they used to be when I got started, or when I brought my investors back towards the end of the recession, and they bought there. And I'm very happy for those of my investors who bought there because they did well. Cash flow wise, they're doing okay. Appreciation, they did very well. We just can't go back and get those numbers again at the moment. So Phoenix is one of those examples that I think it did better appreciation-wise than the San Francisco Bay Area. But in the long run, this area will probably do well. But at the same time, while it's appreciating, it may cost you a lot of money, like $13,000 or more every year to sustain that beast, so to speak. Now, when we're doing a deal locally or out of state, it doesn't matter. We typically, and this would be my suggestion for everyone, we'll use some important functions. And by the way, when we go back to when I started investing in the US, when I used to live in Israel, one of the things I really loved is all those functions are different. It's like different layers of protection on my deal. So they are all independent individual, agent and inspection and appraisal, etc. They all have to be licensed. They all, are regulated functions. And for me, the investor in Israel, Silicon Valley, buying in-state, out-of-state, that provides a lot of safety net, many sets of eyes that are not necessarily communicating between themselves, are checking on my professional eyes, are checking on my investment and telling me what is wrong. And now, it doesn't mean that they all will provide me with the proper information for me to make a decision. But that just means a lot of the information that I'm given is coming from those professionals. And that has nothing to do if I'm buying locally or out of state. I'm still going to use those, those functions. At least I hope you do, because that provides a lot of safety in doing a deal, at least in my experience and my mind. And it's rather cheap relatively to the property that we're buying. Now, one of the things, a few of the things that I keep hearing over the years about the whole concept of buying out of state are the following. And I just summarized, I think, the ones that I hear most. Property managers are crooks. How many of you here work with property managers? Okay, how many of you can say, my property manager is a crook? Okay, guys, switch. Seriously, I have to tell you, if you have a property manager, so why are you still working with this guy? For all of you who said, I think my property manager is a crook, why are you still working with him or her?
They actually fired me.
So that means they're a crook because they fired you?
Well, they were crooks and they figured out that I know they're crooks, so they fired me before I fired them.
Okay. So they beat you to the punch. That's fine.
But it released me from a lot of terms in the contract.
Okay. So I have to tell you that my experience has been for 10 years. All the property managers, and I worked with probably close to 60 different property management companies over the years, maybe 55 to 60 over the years. Can't say one of them was a crook, any one of them were a crook. I can tell you that some of them, I may have three that I would say not that, professional. So I fired someone, but she wasn't a crook. She never cheated me. She made she made mistakes with a goodwill, with a good intentions, but nonetheless, still mistake I had to pay for. So after the third mistake, I told her, done dealing with you. You're a nice lady, but it's just not going to work. You're in the wrong business. I didn't tell her that. I just made her understand that. But I'm just saying that I've worked with many, property managers. I have seen property managers stepping up to the plate big time. When I say big time, I saw one property manager that saved the deal, that she didn't have to do that, and she didn't have to go and step up to the plate. She just stepped up and she corrected a very bad situation, one of the worst situations I've seen all my life as an investor. The person who fixed it, it was not her responsibility, was the property manager. Seriously. And she's not the only one who stepped up and took care of things. So all the property managers, I'm not saying, you know what? I'm sure there are crook property managers, or there are crook agents, or there are crook auto mechanics, or there are crook in every profession you'll find them, right? But you just have to do your checking and double checking and get references, etc., to make sure you're not dealing with that one. And by the way, one of the things I've started a few years ago teaching my investors is how should you manage and supervise your property manager without micromanaging them. And when you do it my way, you'll see how many of those little issues that are mostly communication-based are just gone. 80% of the noise is gone. 20% is still going to be there, but 80%, you're just taking care of business before it turns into a situation. So I have to tell you, after 10 plus years, 55 plus property management companies, I still haven't found the crooked one. Not looking actively, but I still haven't found that. Just good people, hardworking people. They do make mistakes, they're human, they, even with good intentions, but they're not crooks. I have to tell you that. Second thing, I need to travel, right? If I buy out of state, I need to travel to see that. I see here, I can see 4 of my investors, I don't want to name names, I think not even one of those 4 investors ever flew to see their investment. And if I recall correctly, that's very typical of my investors not to fly out there, at least my investors altogether. You don't have to fly there unless you want to. If you ask my opinion, it's better if you do. You will learn better, you will know the market better, you will feel more comfortable, absolutely. But do you have to go out and fly out there? I don't think you do if you work with the right system. If you have the proper tools and support, you don't have to do that. Will you have to go there later on? Let's say something happened with the property manager and you have to go there. The answer is no. Absolutely not. I mean, only if you want to. Okay, so it's your choice. I can tell you that, for example, at a certain point of my career, I decided that I'm paying way too much for property managers, and I started managing my properties myself, because I saved thousands of dollars every month, and that makes sense to me to do that. But through that experience, I can tell you that I have completely done a full eviction on a property in Florida, from sending the papers to to court and putting someone on my behalf with a little fee, tiny little fee, posting the note on the door, submitting the documents at the court, calling the sheriff. I called the sheriff and schedule. Actually, the sheriff deputy called me to ask me when would be a good time for me to do the eviction and to come to the house. And I told him, wait, I need to talk to the locksmith, and he wants to meet you outside of the gated community, otherwise they won't let him in. He said, sir, I'm gonna wait, please tell me. And then he called me, sir, we just completed the eviction, everything went well or okay, everything from the phone. So just to show you, it's doable. I'm not saying you should do it, but it's easy to do those things from your phone or to switch property manager, just to show you there is no reason. I never had to fly out there. Now, me being the traveling guy that I am, I have been to Phoenix, and when I've been to Phoenix, I went to see my house. Same thing in Orlando and other markets around the country. I was already in the neighborhood, so I took the time. I never had to, never wanted to fly out there on purpose to see my house. So just to show you, it's not really a necessary thing to do, only it's a bonus. That's the way I see it. I want to see the house, I see that all the time. Let me share with you a little secret. You drive up to your house that you bought in the East Bay. Let's say you live here and you bought one in the East Bay. You drive there when you purchase it. Looks nice. Good for you. You bought one. Then you go there after closing. Looks about the same. Still nice. A month later, it's rented. You check out, you make sure the tenant just moved in. Guess what? Still looks nice. Hasn't changed a bit, right? A month later, you go there. Really, by the way. Boy, it's starting to be boring experience after once, right? Doesn't happen. So the need to go and see and touch the house, it's not really, it's very, I don't know, I don't have that need. I have to say that since I've seen so many houses. You don't really have to go and see the house. You get very quickly, very tired of that experience, because tell you what, out of state or in state, you can't come walking in through the door anytime you want. You have to give notices, etc. Anyway, so just to show you, seeing the house physically, not really an experience that you will be repeating too many times. And then I hear how to make sure a reported repair was actually done. I'm not going to go into the details. There are ways how to double check, and this is something I show my investors, how to make sure a repair was done and to be more confident that things were done properly. There are ways how to supervise that. I'm not saying it's never going to be easy if you own locally or out of state, but I'm just saying this is something that can be done and can be addressed. So let's just wrap it up. Locally, if we buy locally, it will require more funds. The weekly visits you'll get very quickly, very tired out of them, and you have a notion of better control. You can't go into your house when it's rented. Someone has the rights to this property when you lease it out. Okay, so you can't just walk in, and so you have more control. Actually, there are many ways why I wouldn't stay out of California. The laws are favoring the tenants and not the landlord. The states I'm in, the laws are favoring me. So if I have to get to that point where I'm evicting someone, it's easier and quicker, and not to mention cheaper than here. And then out of state, I would use your property manager. By the way, property managers most likely will do a better job than you, being accessible, professional, knowing the laws. They even create some barrier of protection, or some, they do bear some liability, so there is a buffer of protecting you as well. And not to mention, need less money to buy out of state. This is what I told you earlier. My company, SimplyDoIt, we specialize in buying all the residential rentals and residential fix and flips in those states that I already mentioned. If you're not sure how to go about investing, or you want to see how to move to the next level, you can come and meet with me. I do every week, either in person, by phone. Some of you already met with me. or Skype, a one-on-one session where we're going to talk about what is it you're trying to accomplish and why, what is blocking you and what are your obstacles, etc. So we can actually, get you started or get you moving forward, again. So you can register actually with Michal all the way at the registration at the back. And then I just want to quickly present a new program that we launched this week. And one of the flip programs, I'm going to take 2 minutes, so I'm not taking too much of Bruce's time. As I've mentioned, we're doing flips and we're doing rental properties. We just launched a new program in Austin of flipping new constructions. We partner up with a builder, a local builder, an experienced, been around for many years. This is one of the houses, as you can see. This is in Austin. It's a higher end type of property. So the all investment is about $450,000. That means a down payment and we can get a loan for it. And then it will take about 6 months to build the house. They're gonna sell it for $560,000. That's the average numbers of those, those projects. Every project will vary a little bit based on multiple factors, but just to give you a general feeling of numbers. The after sales expenses and after repaying all the investment, your investment, the loan fees, etc., we're going to net an average of $115,000 for the project as profit. And that profit is actually going to be split between the builder, who's not profiting from the deal until he sells the house, yourself, and myself. And you get 40% out of that. So that means in 6 months, you should be expecting on average, $46,000 or the equivalent of $7,600 a month when we sell the house. Once the house is built and starting, getting towards completion, the local team starts selling it. So the goal is to finish the house and to sell it by the time it's completed and move on to the next project. So this is just a deal we launched. It's in Austin. This specific house actually is was just sold. We had it on the market after an accepted offer after, I can't remember, I think 48 days. And it sold for $650,000. The profit on this one was, I think, about $160,000, the total profit. So something a little bit nicer. But just to give you an example, here is another house in the area. It's a construction, builder, lot. This is something we have just started doing. And what I like about this program is that the builder is not profiting until we sell the house. So he has a very strong incentive to take it all the way to the end. Yes?
So the builder basically needs you for your money?
Basically, yes.
Can't get any, there's a pretty high interest money.
The builder can go, I know this builder, I came to him, I said, let's do a deal like this together because I'm already flipping houses and buying at the auction. There are other challenges of buying at the auction. I need another program for my investors that want to flip houses. He can go to the bank and get better terms. Why would he give up all this profit?
Right.
But he knows that he's also will run out of cash because he needs to bring his own cash to every deal as well. So he's running out of cash eventually. It makes perfect sense for him to come in and say, you know what, let's partner. I see the benefit. I see that we can do multiple houses. That it's a win-win for everybody. You had a question?
I just didn't see the numbers. Can you explain it? Because it was 445 plus 95 and...
So this is your down payment because I'm assuming, by the way, this program has, you can do cash, of course. You can always do cash, right? You can do conventional financing, so to speak. It's a construction loan, so it wouldn't be the exactly conventional, but conventional in terms of rates and 20% down payment. You can, once again, we can do it with an LLC. You can do it with an LLC, with personal guarantee, better terms. Without personal guarantee, not as good terms, but still with financing. You can do it as a foreigner, meaning someone who doesn't have working visa to the US can get a loan for that. You can do it with a foreigner who actually lives in the country as well. So there are multiple ways how to go about it for everyone. You were asking, sorry.
I guess it's the sales expenses that's
the sales expenses, think about it, just, half of it is almost the commission.
Numbers don't add up.
What I'm saying is that
minus
I
95.
see 115,000, but then there's 95 of sales expenses.
So take 560. Yes, you're absolutely right, because this one, it's already here. You got it's. I know.
With the loan and the down
Yes,
payment,
it's
yeah.
already in there. It's already in there. So the actual cost, you need to knock off the 95 out of the 445, because they calculated as part of the deal. It's my mistake that I calculated, because I'm not paying. I told him I'm not paying for this, so it shouldn't be in here, because this is coming out of when the money comes in from the seller, from the buyer. This is where this money comes out. So I'm not shelling this one out over here. I'm shelling it from here. So that means out of pocket, this one already includes this one. That's the mistake. So thank you for pointing. And actually, I had to call him again because he calculates it as it's part of the 445.
How do you structure this deal?
Say again?
How do you structure this? Who's on title, who's lender?
You're on title. No, the lender is not on title.
So you have the liability too.
You have the liability too. That is correct.
So why would we builder engage?
Say again?
What's the motivation for the builder?
The motivation for the builder, you're coming with the money, with the finances. He's just doing the work, and then he has all the motivation to, Otherwise, this builder has about $2 million in available funds to do deals like this one, but he's running out of it because 6 months you quickly run out of those line of credit. And I'm not sure if he's paying on this line of credit or not. So he says, here's another avenue for me to partner up with investors. And it's not a new concept. Actually, builders not the big national builders, but the local, builders have done this type of deals for years. So this is not new. It's just new, to our network. Any other questions?
But his motivation is he's selling you the house.
His motivation is to partner up so he's profiting here.
But I know, but he's selling you a house, he's already making something.
Yes,
That's
absolutely.
A good motivation.
It is. It is. Okay. Any other questions? Perfect. So what we're going to do now, we're going to take about 2 minutes break just to get ready with our next speaker. If you want to sign up to meet with me, see Michal all the way at the registration desk, and we'll start again in about 2 minutes. Thank you.